Welcome back to Echo Ridge and another episode here in our Max Colonization series, where today we're going to be colonizing this very damp planetoid. Now, when we were exploring the star map, we must have dropped by there. It's located all the way over here because we did drop off a rover. So we don't necessarily have to land another rover here, but we're still going to. Having a rover at the beginning of colonization really helps with building things like ladders. But first, a couple of updates over on Gaseto. Things have mostly calmed down after a couple of changes. But before I get into those, I need to introduce you to Zyad. Zyad is the 36th duplicant of the playthrough. They are skilled in plumbing, they're a little gastrophobic, but most importantly, they are frostproof. Uncle Ben and Zyad have been getting along swimmingly, but I have a feeling that's going to change because Uncle Ben is about to get a sweet, sweet confetti suit. You know, they've been here longer, they deserve the surprise. I was having a problem with some radiation sickness. Unbeknownst to me, the solar panels, while blocking 100% of light, don't block any radiation. So I've put in some additional granite tiles here, just because granite's something that we had around, and now in the most important spots where they spend a lot of time sleeping, going to the bathroom, they have much less radiation hitting them. Additionally, I removed the solar panel that was sitting over here and put some granite tiles to sort of protect the rancher when they're sitting at the grooming stations. You'll notice I did put a fourth ranch in, and that was for some just-in-case reasons. You'll notice right now it's pretty well oxygenated. Well, that's because I shipped over a bunch of oxalite, just to give them a little bit of extra time before the milking can get underway and we can start to convert all that brackine into oxygen. The issue, we have a stuck gassy moo. The issue had to do with light and how often the gas was growing. Right now I've got it sort of fixed up, thanks to me turning back on these mini gas pumps. I have been getting rid of the liquid locks because they really don't matter that much. I figured the benefit of having some oxygen in here for the ranchers to breathe outweighed the cost of a little bit of natural gas coming out of here. I've added the pump down here from last episode, and we have a filter up here to make sure we're not wasting any of that oxygen. So all in all, I'm not too worried about the natural gas. Although there is still some areas where there's more natural gas than I would prefer. I should probably actually set up another gas pump down here. It's not too big of a deal though, because the dupes never come down here. But the reason why we were having problems with light, you can sort of see it right here. How we're getting less light in some of the ranches, yet nothing is different. Well, the answer comes down to how much natural gas is in the ranches. And I have a video coming out here in a few days that explains what I've discovered, but the long and short of it is, most gases block light. I did some experimenting to see how much it affects it because I was seeing some really weird results. And lo and behold, natural gas and light do not get along. So when there's more natural gas in the ranches, well, less light comes through. Hence another reason that we're pumping everything out. And so far, the mini gas pumps have been doing just a fine job of getting rid of what natural gas the gassy moos do produce, especially considering how much light is on this planetoid. For the most part, we don't have too many problems. But now that all the ranches are good and stable, we're producing more brackine, which is ultimately turning into oxygen. But for a while there, it was a little touch and go, hence the reason why I shipped over the oxalite. That's the reason why I ended up putting in the fourth ranch, because if I needed to, well, I could just start ranching a couple of more gassy moos temporarily so I could milk them for additional brackine. But right now, I'm just taking the excess gas grass, letting it store up so that I can eventually compost the plant husk. No big deal. We have both of our rockets heading towards Draona, and I just realized instead of sending Josh Manchester in the Explorer, I used Kiku, which is not too big of a deal as long as I don't have to dig out anything. But that was definitely a small mistake. Luckily, we only have some sandstone here, so any digging that's required, Kiku will be able to handle it just fine. Now, when we're looking at this planetoid, we have a couple of options in terms of where to put the rocket. The no-go zone is pretty high up, and as you can see, 35 spaces brings us down to here, which is almost a perfect spot because the rocket platform will still be in the vacuum of space, so a lot of its exhaust will just disappear out here. We're going to get some overflow here, but that's not too big of a deal. There's a nice cavity of oxalite, plenty of sandstone, even some dirt that we might be able to use. So fingers crossed, I'm hoping this is one of the easier planetoids we have to colonize. Now, obviously, water is not something that we are running low on. So I was thinking we'd go pretty standard with a crop that just requires water and an electrolyzer for oxygen. Easy peasy. And I don't want to hear any gruff about the easy peasy route because, well, we dealt with this whole mess. And before that, we were dealing with this whole mess. For those curious, by the way, we are up to 137 kilos worth of solid sap that will one day be ready to ship. There is a small problem though. The water that we would end up using is sitting at 44.5 degrees. If we go to the water database and check what plants are available to be fed with water, it'll give us a quick synopsis of what our available options are. Typically, when we're talking about water as a source of food, we're talking sleet wheat, although that would require some dirt, bristle blossoms, or even an overgrown node. I like the idea of bristle blossoms. Unfortunately, bristle blossoms like it at 30 degrees, and with this water being 44, and there being so much of it, the colony is naturally going to be 44 degrees too. Now there's a couple of options, one being this polluted water vent. It erupts at 30 degrees, which you might think, well, that could be a great source of coolant. Unfortunately, as soon as you get 0.1 degrees beyond the 30, our wonderful bristle blossoms would once again stop growing. Additionally, we can see by checking the star map that this planetoid has a water geyser as well. When we find it, we'll go over its available options, but the long and short of it is, even if we're going to use all this water, we're going to still need some independent cooling, such as a supercoolant loop. Your next question might be, well, like, oh, why don't we use the polluted water vent to provide some polluted water to some crops? That is something I went and looked at, but at that point, we're talking about bog buckets and pitcher pepper plants. Well, bog buckets have a maximum temperature of 30 degrees, just like our bristle blossoms, and while the pincher pepper plants like it a little warmer, we can get away with 35 degrees all the way up to 85. They also require phosphorite. So I think we're going to use the KISS method on this planetoid. Find a nice spot on it, build a nice little home, grow some bristle blossoms, and provide oxygen with an electrolyzer. Both our rockets are in orbit of Draona. We're going to start off with the ESS Explorer and launch our second rover module on the planetoid. We'll pair it right next to the last rover. And no guts, no glory. We're also going to do Kiku at the same time. We'll take the better Atmos suit here at 47%. And now that they're in the suit, I have it paused because the seconds really do matter. We'll load Kiku into the Trailblazer module and then click deploy and put them down right here. And with that, Univector Llama's job is done, so we can send them back. I put them in the suit a little bit early. That way I don't have to remind myself to put them back in the suit before they land. First thing we're going to do is deconstruct all these modules because we need the steel for our rocket platform. Now I need to make sure we have 35 tiles of space. So I'm going to try to figure out where that is. So one above this little piece of sandstone. I can start putting some ladders in. I will go every other ladder just to save us a little bit of construction time. And then I'll put the rocket platform in right there. And that should give me my 35 tiles of height I need. Nope, that's 33. This is why you double check, because I would have spent all that time building it. How did I not count that correctly last time? And this time we have the right height. Kiku, no! What are you doing? Kiku, no, we're not sleeping in the water. And I turn off red alert, and Kiku wants to go take another nap. We might want to check on that oxygen system. Alright, they still have 23 kilos worth of oxygen in their suit, so about a third of a cycle. So we're going to keep it on red alert for a little while. Sorry you're missing out on your nap, Kiku. Should have sent Josh Manchester. We're down to 18 kilos worth of oxygen, and instead of building the rocket platform, Kiku is busy building the ladder. Remember, Rover cannot build the rocket platform because Rover can only build things that do not take any research to build. Kiku has a construction of 15 with a plus 375 construction speed, so it's not too shabby. And then we can land the ESS colonizer right there. Ooh la la. Here comes our away team now. And Kiku's going to use the bathroom. Very nice. I can turn off red alert now. That's for sure. And I think what we're going to do for this playthrough is instead of building this stuff up here, where there's, well, plenty of radiation, I'm actually going to use this as a sort of cave to put in all of our starting requirements. Also going to get rid of some of this sandstone. Let's grab some free steel here. I could be grabbing some more steel from the rover, but I don't like deconstructing rovers. It seems unnecessary. Inside the rocket as standard, we need to deconstruct the rocket control station so I can put in a manual generator. Why are we still on red alert? For some reason, red alert was also activated on our home planetoid, and it's causing me people to miss the bathroom. No, that doesn't make sense. We also cannot forget our carbon dioxide system. Now, this is probably going to burn up when we take off. I could use a little bit of steel to help make sure it doesn't, but it really doesn't matter if it burns up once we take off, because I don't think we're ever coming back. I should be able to get this planetoid done in one trip. You know, as long as there's no chaos. We'll need some power out here on the colony to start off with. I really should start bringing glass with me on the rocket. We'll just use some regular 2-strand wire. We're not going to have too much here. But once I do get some glass over here, I'll just throw in some solar panels, and that will be that. Another great thing about this planetoid is I don't have to worry about meteors. No meteors. Isn't that wonderful? I guess I can remove one of the iron requirements. Right now we have 2 buckets worth of iron. So if I change this over to glass, now the rocket will be loaded up with 1 ton of refined iron and 1 ton of glass. I am removing some of the sandstone here for the simple reason I need the building materials. Granted, we're up to 29 tons, but we have to dig and build ladders all the way down through here. To give you a quick guess, the bottom of the planetoid isn't until way down here. So who knows what we're going to find. Hey, the truth, it'd probably be better to dig in the middle so I get visibility on both sides. Oh no, Rover, move. Rover, don't do that. You're going to fall. I guess we're going to see if Rover falls. Nope, Rover jumped. Alright, so we'll do it with a sandstone ladder and we'll just go straight down through. Give me a little bit to let the dupes work this out. And once I have some more visibility of the rest of the planetoid, we'll start making our plan. Why haven't they finished the exosuit forge? Never mind, here comes Josh. Speaking of which, I do need to make sure I include Kiku on the crew. That way we don't accidentally leave them on the planetoid when we leave. I also need to remember to make sure we click repair atmosuits. And away we go. As they're digging, I wanted to highlight how important it was for them to be able to do their work underneath. Notice the radiation up here is at 218 rads per cycle. Just through one layer of natural tiles, we're at 61 and 116 rads. So much better. In our exploration, we have found the water geyser, and as suspected, it is at 95°C. So yes, it is clean water. It's just very hot. Not going to matter once I have the cooling loop, nor is it going to be possible for me to use all of this water in the course of this gameplay. But, you know, I like to set things up for infinite sustainability anyways. I also thought this was an excellent opportunity to show you how I think their shaders work in the game. Notice the amount of duplication once you have so much water together. And this is sort of repeated in a pattern. But you normally don't see that. You normally only have a tank of water like this. The game does the same thing with gases as well. Looks like we have found one pocket of dry land down here. Last time I was on this planetoid, I think there was a point of interest building down here. But it's been a long time. So I'm not quite sure if that's what we're going to find. Not to mention that I need to figure out where we're actually going to live and how it's going to be sealed off from the rest of the planetoid. That way our 2 unsuspecting dupes don't get flooded. Another issue that we're going to have on this planetoid is water pressure. Up here at the top, you can see that we're sitting at around 1,000 kilos per tile worth of water, which is pretty standard. But the deeper you go, the more pressure there is, which ends up actually destroying tiles. You have to use something like a bunker tile or an airflow tile to prevent water damage. Well, here's that point of interest I was talking about. This is definitely not in the condition I was hoping it was going to be in. We did find the kitchen sink though. We will bring those back home. We have a decent collection of artifacts right now. Not sure what we're going to do with them. Oh, what a mess this is. And we can still go lower. The question is, do I want to? I don't need the graphite. We already have access to fullerene. It looks like the planetoid has a granite core. Yeah, let's just keep going low. I'm running into some overheat damages as expected. This is a vacuum and this battery is generating heat. So I think what I'm going to do is just grab a little bit of water, put just a little bit here on the battery. That should help. I'm going to disable auto repair for right now. That way I'm not wasting more of that iron ore. Speaking of which, where's my glass? Here it is, all ready to go. I've already reset the interplanetary launcher to Draona, 70 rad bolt cost, not too shabby, which also means it's time to put down a payload opener. Put that right here. Rover's getting ready to drop off our water. Very nice. And that should cool that jumbo battery down for quite some time at least. So I will just undo the water from there, and then I can just rinse and repeat. Although it's going to be a very long time before the battery heats up all that water. Elsewhere on this planetoid are some very large deposits of lime. 250 kilos, so we'll get 125 for digging it out. That is a whole lot of eggshells. I'm trying to decide what kind of locks I'm going to use in order to make sure that the entire ocean up here doesn't flood our duplicants who are going to be living down here. Which then asks the question, well, Echo, why are the dupes living down at the bottom of the ocean? Well, it's just sort of nicer than living at the top of the ocean, right? We'll call it an underwater sea research center. I don't know. I'm spitballing here. But it's not like the duplicants have to come out very often. In fact, they'll never need to come out. I plan on putting everything I need into this location here. The question is, how do I get rid of the water? And for that, I'm thinking that we're going to use some sort of floodgate system, which means I need to build a whole lot of piping. And the idea is going to be that this will be a door. Remember, I'm not going to need to get in and out after the base is made, but before the base is made is kind of important. Maybe I just make a bunch of bunker tiles too, so it looks even better. Yeah, we're doing that. Bunker tiles for the win. Definitely not going to have enough steel for this. I may have gone overboard with the interplanetary payloads. Our can opener is going to be going for quite some time, but we're going to build something fancy down here at the bottom of the ocean. Oh, it goes even further over. Once I have enough steel. I've extended the power line from the solar panels all the way down. It took about 4 tons worth of iron. I'm going to need power for the pump. I'm going to need power for the mechanized airlock. The spam's going to need power, although it's not going to be a lot considering it's going to be a very small spam. And then finally the lights for the bristle blossoms. Well, I guess maybe in a phone. But I think we should be able to get away with just one 2-strand wire for all that. I don't know. All of this hot steel is warming up my water bath, so I'm going to drop it by a single tile. I don't mind if it's hot. I just don't want it to keep heating up this thin layer of water, which is causing my battery to sit at a beautiful 30 degrees. Some of you might have already gotten the idea of what I'm going to be doing with this pump, but I also need to just get rid of all the other water that's sitting in here anyways. Now that I'm looking at it, did I make this too big for just 2 duplicants? Well, it's going to be a spacious underwater laboratory. Once I get this all sealed, I can then drain all this water, pump it back out, and then get to work in here. The pump has started the work of draining this entire area. It's going to be a little while. I am also draining this area here, so I'm going to dig up using ladders first, but then I'm going to seal this place off. The idea is, with the power of mechanized airlock not staying open for long, what water does come in through the door will just drop down and then be pumped out. We also could have done the sort of standard liquid lock, but you couldn't use water. I would have had to send over some petroleum or some oil. As long as whatever liquid it is heavier than water, it would do an okay job of stopping it. I just don't like relying on one liquid to hold off another liquid, especially when this is under so much pressure. Plus, I think this system just mechanically is pretty cool. And for those of you wondering, yes, the pipe goes all the way up to the very top of the planetoid and then just drops back into the ocean. Now that I think about it, I am going to need some water that feeds the electrolyzer and the bristleberries. So what I'm probably going to do is put some sort of hydro sensor here that if the water ever gets to a certain level too low, the door automatically opens, lets water in, and then shuts. Oh, I'm liking this planetoid. Well, other than the fact that it's going to take me a month of Sundays to drain all this water, I was doing some work in here and then I realized I should probably stop because every time they open the door to come in or out, I'm letting more water in. It doesn't look like it because the density of the water sitting here is already so high, but it is adding more water. So my original idea was to colonize this planetoid in one episode, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't think that's going to happen. I am going on a small vacation next week, but I do have a small video prepared that I'm going to be able to put out. but it definitely won't be one of these larger episodes. Next time, we're going to be dealing with the challenges of building out this underwater base. We'll be building a spa, making sure we have some cooling, getting some bristle blossoms down, and also discovering if we're going to be able to do it all using one 2-strand wire. Maybe I should just suck it up now and start putting in a bunch of conductive wire. I don't know, it's going to be tight. Either way, I'm looking forward to hearing what you think of this episode in the comments below. I'd also like to hear what you think about our plans for our small little base sitting under the ocean. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.